Hello and welcome back to the Wheel Talk podcast. My name is Abby Mickey. We're here to talk about women's professional road cycling, and we have a mailbag episode for you all today. We've got a whole host of listener questions, How Good's Minute of Madness, and a little bit of race talk. Joining me, Gracie Alvin.
Hello, hello. Always good to be here.
Georgie Howe.
What's up, team? It's nice to be back with the whole crew.
Lauren Rowney.
G'day, everyone. You stole my line, Georgie. I was going to say it's nice to always have the four of us together.
Well, I mean, you guys laughed at my intro. I don't know. I was just being mean.
I mean, my dream is, like, how great would it be if we could do a live We'll Talk podcast of the Tour Down Under?
Yeah, I mean,
that is the dream.
I've thought about that, like on stage in like the HQ area. Kind of like, I know Matt Keenan loves that space, but like maybe he'll let us use for a little bit.
Hey, I know one of the organizers.
Yeah, you do.
It's kind of my best
got a good connection with that.
So
Matt can join us. He passes the vibe check.
He does. He's a great vibe. But like I'm picturing like us kind of doing like a walk-in, kind of like WNBA style, like fashion walk-in, DJ playing.
Yeah, we're allowed to have outfits for podcasts, right?
100%. Who wants to be? We need a fashion sponsor. Who do we bring on?
Let's ask.
Oh, there's so many good ones in Australia too. Like Australia has some really stylish. One of my friends is going down there in October, and I was like, "Hey, I'm just going to order a bunch of clothes that you can bring back with you," because getting them to Europe is a pain in the butt.
Well, I think 3 of us will potentially be there in January, so we just have to figure out how to get Abby down under.
Yeah, that might be a little bit tough.
I mean, like my mind went to a place it didn't need to go with that.
Yeah, you've got to include the first word, tour, down under.
My request, if we do like I think for a live, like I envision us at like a coffee shop. Like I envision us in like a really like low key, like really casual setting, because that's really like what we do on the podcast. Like we're very casual. We're just a bunch of friends having a chat.
We need to amalgamate our vision boards, Abby. I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect.
I would love a cafe setting, but what would be cool if we did it one time would be a live podcast where we could have people come and be there.
For sure. No, I mean like a live podcast at a cafe.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the dream.
Yeah, just put us up like against a wall on like high stools, and everyone can come. You can ask some questions, and then everyone can drink a coffee, and then we can have an off the mic segment, like with people, and they can hear our hot spicy takes that we can't say.
Yeah, okay.
Publicly.
So my stadium special, probably not what you guys are envisioning.
I mean, I think that would be cool. I'd be down for that, but I like the idea of the cozy coffee shop, and we're better than Australia. Let's be honest, the best coffee is down under.
It's true. This is a democracy.
Like if I'm gonna go to Australia, I'm just gonna live in the coffee shops.
Yeah.
And this is a democracy.
That's basically my plan for December.
Yeah.
Georgie, you and Loren, we can post, and Gracie, because you 3 are like the best at public speaking and like speaking in front of people. You guys can do your thing, and I will just be producer behind the scenes, making sure everything runs smoothly.
No.
That's not true.
You're the glue, Abby.
Yeah.
When I record the podcast, I pretend that no one listens.
I'm just a sprinkle on top, dude.
Yeah. Are you the rainbow sprinkles?
Yeah.
Who's the cherry?
Yeah. See what you did there.
All right. Well, this intro has really gone off the rails. Let's circle back. We're going to talk about bike racing. There's not like a ton of news, racing, or the like to talk about this week, which is why we wanted to do a mailbag. We get back to World Tour racing next weekend with this coming weekend with Classic Lorient Agglomeration. And next week, we'll also talk about Tour de l'Avenir Femmes. And we had a couple questions for the mailbag about Tour de l'Avenir and young riders to keep an eye on. And I think we will dive into that next week on the podcast, because so far we've only had, as we're recording, we've only had the prologue and stage 1. And I think a lot of the names at the top of those lists are young riders that we already would have an eye on. Isabella Holmgren leads the race after the prologue. And she's one that after, third on the Queen stage of the Giro, she's definitely a well-known name. We also have like Eleonora Chiabacco, who we've talked about on the podcast before. So we'll dive into Tour de l'Avenir next week when the race is wrapped and we have a ton to talk about. There's also been no transfer news. So yeah, just a bunch of listener questions, and I will preview the classic Lorient agglomeration at the end of the pod to get everyone ready for the race. Once we're done talking about other stuff.
I think on the transfer news, a nice thing to mention is, as we know, Sereti's WNT is probably not going ahead. It's not going ahead next year, but Danique Hengeveld, who's 20-year-old Dutch rider, she found a team, and a very good team, with a 3-year deal, which is really great for her. So that was exciting news to see happen. So she's heading over to Team Visma Lisa Bike.
Yeah, good point, Loren.
Who's her agent, Loren? Because she was...
No idea.
Yeah, because she's she's a great rider and also like a really great teammate. Her story is one of like perseverance. Like I remember seeing her, I think I said this on the pod before, last year when she didn't even know if she would have a ride in September for this year. And like I saw her the moment her agent texted her to say that Ceretis was signing her for 1 year. And then she had that great ride at TDU and she's continued to perform and show dedication. So I'm really stoked for her.
There are some seriously amazing transfers coming down the pipeline that I can't wait to talk about. I'm really, really excited about a couple of them. And they will be known hopefully soon, because I hate keeping a secret.
Coming out. And maybe you can share that off mic.
I will. I'll tell you off mic.
Excellent.
Let's dive into some listener questions, and we'll break up the chat with some How Good Minute of Madness in a minute. So, first question from Steve. He asked if Canyon SRAM has found their secret sauce. Apart from Chloe Daggert's Tour Down Under stage win in January and national titles, all the other team wins are from Zoe Backstead and Chiara Consoni at the Tour of Poland and the Baloise Ladies Tour, neither of which are World Tour, but a win's a win. And I think that my take on this is it's been curious to me that Backstead hasn't been raced more at the World Tour level this year. I think they have like a pretty solid team that they've made for racing, for like specific races, but I think Zoe's been on the circuit for long enough that I would have expected to see a little bit more of her this summer at World Tour races.
You think this is something that Canyon's taken on board from a lot of the stuff that's come out this year around just being mindful of racing younger riders too much, particularly those who are like possibly proteges and the stars of tomorrow? Like they've got the talent in Canyon to not race her that much, to kind of like backfill that talent a bit, so like they can give her the time and the space, and they know she's good. So this is the thing. It's like they know she's good. They'll back her in. And that's a new philosophy that I've seen come up. We haven't seen that previously with teams where they've really backed in a young rider and invested in them like we see on the men's side.
Yeah, very good point, Georgie. And I had some nice conversations with Adam Sabo, who is like the performance manager of the team. He came from the Generation team, and now he's in this function within Canyon SRAM. And we spoke a lot actually at the tour about rider development and their sort of philosophy around it. And I think they have enough people in that team within the staff that have been in the sport such a long time that they know what works and what doesn't work. And even talking with her dad, he's very aware of the risks of burnouts of these young talents who, like, I always go back to Cat Stevens, but someone who's already achieving results at the World Tour level, like winning World Tour races, his fear is it may be too much too soon. So I think they've purposely held Zoe back. He's obviously not involved with Canyon SRAM anymore, but she is a big talent. I think she's one of those generational talents as well. But her progression, it's been really nice to see that it's been a slower progression. And she was doing really well. I think what did she win? The CIMAC Ladies Tour? Or
Zoe?
She was right up there.
She won the first stage of CIMAC Ladies Tour.
But she's been on the podium at the end. And like, that's a hard tour. I think we can all... most of us have raced it. It's a really hard race to win overall. But yeah, I think what they're doing with her is the right way, and that's why it's a great team, I think, to send young riders to put them in that generation team and then have them develop. And I think Liverlula Jayco has learnt a lot over the past few years with what they've done with just taking on newbies and putting them straight in the World Tour teams and burning them out, essentially. So I think they've figured it out too. And that's not to say like every young rider has to have the same pathway. You have to be really mindful that they are individuals, but still, even like with my agent hat on, you just have to be really conscious that if you want them to be in the sport for 10, 15, 20 years, you have to look at the long game, not the short game. So I think with Zoe, she wants to be in the sport a really long time, and she'll be winning big races in the future, I'm sure of it.
That team, I think it's half, like there's 9 out of the 18 riders that are 25 years or younger. So they're investing in the future in a big way. And that's not typically been the MO of that team or that different iterations of the team under that same license over the years. And Loren, you would know that better than the rest of us, being part of the Specialized Lululemon squad back in the day. So I think it is, they're still in a transition phase, and I feel like they've been in a transition zone for a couple of years now. They've got some, obviously some big names on that team, and that would have taken a lot of their budget. I'd say that their budget has become healthier the last couple of years. So they've been able to increase the depth in what they're paying everyone, which is a good thing. And, you know, UCI regulations are also helping that across the board at World Tour level. But it did strike me actually at the Tour de France Fun when I was there and around that bus. I'm like, oh, this team has been around for so long. They've had some incredible results over the years, but it's been a bit light on really in the last handful of years for them. And the fact that they're still a premier team, knowing what some of those riders get paid, it's like, wow, where does that money come from? To me, it's a sign that that team is well managed, that even though they don't get a lot of results, they get good results enough, but they also have a great story that they're telling those sponsors to remain involved in that team. And that's a standalone women's team. And I think the fact that they're still standing strong as a standalone women's team is actually quite remarkable. And for sure, they've had some issues with management and managing riders over the years, but on the whole, they have done a good job, and now they're investing in the future. And I think that they're going to reap those rewards in the not too distant future.
I think the sport is now way too hard to just throw an 18-year or a 19-year-old and hope that they'll succeed. It requires, like, the reason that Pauline was able to do what Pauline was able to do in August was because she had over a decade of load in her legs. Annemiek was always one who said that as well. She could only do what she could do because of how much resistance to fatigue she's built up over many, many, many years of being a professional cyclist. And I think like both Annemiek and Pauline started cycling, like the sport has kind of, we've all heard from riders that the sport has hit a new level this year as well. So it's even harder for younger riders to acclimatize to the pressures and the levels there. And also we also still don't know what the woman's body does when it responds to loads such as this. So there's a lot of unknowns here, and I think teams are finally cottoning on to like, okay, we need to give a bit more time for these riders to acclimatize to this life as well as the racing, but also to the life. So it's good to see that Canyon are taking that on, Liverlula Jayco are taking it on. It took them a few years to find their feet with it, but they've done it well now. Yeah, I'm sure we can talk about Little Trek as well at some point, and what they've learned from their experience as well.
I don't know if they have learned too much.
No, I don't think they have
experience. Either. To be honest, I think when we're comparing how teams have done with young riders, it obviously I have a conflict of interest here, but I have been a little disappointed to see how Little Trek have handled their young riders. I think they've done a really, really good job in some aspects, to be honest. But there are other riders that I feel concerned about how they are. The pressure they're putting their riders on, even if they don't mean to, by putting riders in a world tour race like the Giro, that's immediately putting pressure on them to perform. If you're on a team like Little Trek. So I don't know. I think, yeah, I definitely agree that like when you compare how teams have handled young riders, Kane and Stram, they've learned from their mistakes and they're doing a better job now. I think that also, I guess, like with Zoe, I always forget how young she is because she's been in the sport for so long and been like at the top for so long as well. Like she basically just came onto the scene and was a rider to watch, and especially when you factor in cross and stuff. I think the other like half of this question about Chiara Consoni and her wins at Tour Poland is just that she's on a new team this year and it's not just like it's a new team. She went from riding for Valcar Travel and Service to riding for UAE, and both of those teams are very, very Italian. And she's coming onto a German team that's incredibly different attitude, very, very different vibe. And I think it's just taken her a little bit to find her footing on a new environment. And I think the wins at Tour of Poland are going to help her feel confidence going into like the rest of the season, especially like CMAC and the races in China, assuming that she'll be doing those. Probably not China, but CMAC for sure. And that she'll be up there in the sprints going forward, because it's not only a matter of her confidence on the bike on a new team, but also the team's ability to support a sprinter like Chiara Consoni, which Canyon Stram's on a Crypto historically has not had a sprinter. They've pretty much just had like a hilly classics / like tour team. And now they have Consoni and they need to figure out how to deliver her to the finish line. And I think part of both Backstead and Chiara's how they fit into the team ties together really well, actually, with the riders that they are. And that's part of why we saw the success that they had at Tour of Poland and Baloise.
Well, they haven't had a sprinter since Rowney.
Valid.
Sprint dog.
Man, I know we've talked about the Specialized Lululemon team before, but what a team that was. I just remember like binge watching all of the YouTube videos of all the riders and just wishing I could be on that team. That was when I fell in love with Taylor Wiles, was her interview with that team. I think I watched it like 20 times and I was like, she's freaking cool. I want to be best friends with that person. But just the kits, and I would love to know how they got Lululemon on board. Like that's such a wild sponsorship for cycling, especially like back in that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good segue to one of the other questions in the stacked Rabobank team, because Lululemon was a stacked team. It was kind of like, I can't remember anymore how many teams there were, but there weren't that many. There'd be like 3 or 4 teams that were stacked, and then it was everybody else and a bunch of national teams that would rock up and just get their asses handed to them.
Yeah. This is true. I think it was Lulu, Rabobank,
Bulls.
But they weren't that strong.
No, they kind of became stacked
the
later.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was Cervelo that fell away, and that became the drink sponsor became
Drink.
AAR.
Remember?
Yeah.
RR Drink, Lulu, and Rabobank, I think, were the 3. And then you had the new Green Edge
and
team.
Wiggle.
And then Wiggle came 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested, like my knowledge of that era of cycling, both men's and women's, is pretty murky, because I'm embryonic when it comes to this sport still in a lot of ways. You guys put up with me because I think I'm funny. But I'm quite intrigued by the second part of this question, which was around the Rabobank story, around was this the only team that could afford the best riders at the time, or did something about being on the team lay the foundation to propel them all to future greatness? And I really like that last part of the question. Like, we talk about chicken or the egg. Were they able to just buy the best riders, or was there something a bit more X-factory about the team, that riders, that there was something that was, you couldn't quite put your finger on, that made such a great culture that then enabled them to do well? Like, it's like, was it the individual, was it the individuals that they brought into the fold that made the team great, or was it the individuals then the collective that they then formed that made the team great? And that goes beyond just contracts that get signed.
That's a really great question.
Back then, there wasn't really money.
No.
So it wasn't really a matter of hiring, being able to afford the best riders, because no one really got paid. There was like a handful of riders that actually got paid
I do think
back
that
then?
team, though, I'm trying to think.
That would have been one of the few teams that would have paid everyone, but still not a lot. Not a lot.
No, I think you could expect maybe 20,000 euros for, let's say, I'll throw out a name, for Monique Tengelo, however you say last name. Someone like that, I think, was probably on 20, which was a lot back then.
Yeah. You were like living the life if you got 20K.
Yeah, well, that for a starting contract, no.
Yeah, exactly.
The optics of it was professionally run. So it was a legit team. You got a little bit of money. All the equipment was good.
They had a camper van.
Yeah, they had the things to kind of support a whole team. So I think it was a bit of both. It was like they had enough support to make it one of the better teams and more attractive teams to be on. And then they had the special sauce to take from the previous question in that, like they had Marina Vos there, and they had a handful of other riders that were the peloton's cream of the crop. And then they had the young wave of talent. And at that time, that was Pauline, and
Kasia.
Yeah, Kasia was there. I remember them. They looked like teenagers when we raced because they effectively were. They were so gangly, but they were just so full of courage, and they'd always be attacking and like going crazy into corners, and you'd just be watching going, oh my God. But it was cool. And you could see Voss just being like, oh, just calm down. Like, come on. And
I mean, I think,
it was just like, I think
all these things like tie together.
Yeah.
Like, who's the DS? Like, because I mean, the riders are one part of it.
He's
Eric van der Boom,
who is now the DS and manager of the Liverpool-Jaco
Continental team.
Yeah, I know Eric.
We've had great chats about the old days.
I think that the management could spot talent really well, which is how the young riders came into the team. Like a lot of the riders that I wrote about in that piece, it was like their first team, like Pauline and Kasia. So like, I think that him plus like other people involved in hiring riders were really good at spotting talent, like spotting Van der Breggen, for example. It wasn't her first team, but it was definitely like her first like real professional team. But also, like, to what Gracie said, there were so few teams that were that professional at the time that had like the support to give riders in terms of equipment, but also like soigneurs and stuff like that. Like an actual soigneur and a mechanic that like went to races and knew the riders. Like even when I was racing on teams and we would come to Europe, we wouldn't know who the mechanic was because they would just hire someone for the weekend, and then they'd, mess up your fit and then your knees would swell, at least in my experience. And so like it was such a professional team that definitely lent itself to like the riders like carrying themselves in a certain way. I think for me, like rocking up to races against teams like Rabobank Live, like they carried themselves in a different way than everyone else, like going to sign on. And that translates into racing. And so I think that from very early on in Pauline and Kasia's careers, they were with Voss, which that makes a huge difference when you're riding on a team with someone like Voss right off the bat, someone who can really like show you the ropes. And they carried that into the rest of their careers, which has been a part of why they've been so successful, is because from very early on, they knew how to conduct themselves in a professional way. But yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to support and talent spotting when it comes to that team. And this was such a fun piece to write. I know Matt threw it out as kind of like a joke, but
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it took me a lot longer than I expected.
It was like also the photos. It was like going back in time. Like,
that was really fun.
Looking at young Elisa Longoborghini in the high-tech products.
Yeah, she was.
Everyone's like so baby face.
So cool.
Yeah, so cute.
I found some really funny pictures of Kasia.
Yeah.
But to be fair, and say if I'm wrong, but like if you were 10, 15 years ago, if you were good, like if you showed talent and you showed potential to win races, or you were winning some races, say with your national team or a lower level team, it was pretty likely you would get an opportunity with a bigger team. Like, I hate to say it, but it was easier for women to get at the time World Cup level or pro level licenses, which are now World Tour contracts. Sorry, so I reckon it is a lot harder now as a female to get a World Tour contract, which is a good thing, but it's probably still not as hard as it is for a male to get a World Tour contract. So back then it wasn't easy, but it also, the market wasn't flooded with the depth of talent fighting for those World Tour or equivalent level contracts. So yeah, that's also a factor that you have to consider, was like the depth of the women's peloton, the numbers that were coming to the races. Yes, it was 120, 130 people starting, but the depth of talent was not deep. So it was only the pack would dwindle on any race that was harder than, 1,000 meters of climbing for the race it would dwindle pretty quickly all those years ago. It was still really hard to win a race because there was a lot of good riders you started to beat, but not like now where the whole peloton is like at a super high level.
Yeah, I think before it was like that if you made that front group, maybe it was 10 of the top riders in different types of races, right? And now, like when I was talking to Sile Utra-Blubwig, she was saying, you're going full gas and you turn around and there's still like 45, 50 people there.
Yeah, no.
And she's like, before it was like maximum 15 of us left. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it goes. And she's like, and we're going full gas and they're still all there. And I'm like, well, yeah.
But that's how things progress. And I think like this is where, yeah, the professionalism of the sport from a performance perspective is going really great. Like we're obviously getting to a point where like people are hitting records are being broken left, right, and center. Performances of the equipment, performances of the athletes. It's where like the performance of the industry as like in supporting women's cycling is, how long is that going to take to catch up?
I think this kind of also ties into another question, and I'm loving that we can segue like this. It says a lot about our listeners and just how smart they are. But Dee asked, what do we want from the future of women's cycling, and how do we want it to differentiate from the men's?
That's a long one.
Yeah, it's a long one. And something that we kind of tackle almost every episode, but to distill it is quite hard.
I think I've had the fortunate opportunity to be in a sports marketing and consultancy agency that had access to a whole heap of data last week, working on a strategy piece for them around women's soccer. And I had to look at like how do we capture new fans, particularly in Australia for women's soccer. And I looked at best practice overseas, and of course at the moment you look to the WSL, so the women's the soccer in the UK, and then you look to the NWSL, which is the women's soccer in the US, and the WNBA, PWHL, the ecosystem of women's sport in the States as well. And by far the best thing that I saw come out of that was that women's sport is not about the performances on the pitch; it's about the cultural movement around the pitch. And I think women's cycling is starting, like Swift and all the industry people that we saw at the Tour de France firm like Swift, we're starting to really push that cultural message. I think the sport is lagging in regards to other sport in this way. Like if I take, I had a great call with the head of one of the woman who works in partnerships at the Valkyries, which is the WNBA team associated with the Golden State Warriors. And they were talking about how 95% of their fan base is new. So only 5% of their fan base are also Warriors fans. And their first touch point with fans was like 40% of their fans were bought in through merchandise purchase. And this was before they signed any player. Like that was through cross promotion and collaboration with non-endemic brands to sport, because they recognized that they had this bright believer demographic of fans, which was the 18 to 44-year-old women who are into the zeitgeist. They have got their finger on the pulse with social media. They know what's going on. They know what's cool. They want to be in something. And so what they did is that they created a group for them to be in. Like they created a belonging. And I think that's where I would love to see women's cycling get. I want to see it as a group. I want to see it as like this mass movement that's more than just about the bike race.
Do you know what I think's unique to cycling as well is, okay, I could get into rugby. I've always enjoyed rugby, but never someone who played it. I've played touch footy as a kid, but it's not like it was a sport then I did on the weekend. It's the same for football fans, but the special thing about cycling is you can have people who are fans of the sport watching it, and they either cycle already or they might even just pick up the bike. And then there's that whole community part of it, aside from just being part of a community that watches. So it can be two things.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I think is pretty unique.
Yeah. And
you can marry the two together.
100%. And you can and I think that's the point. You can marry them together. But I think we need to also recognize that like this is bigger than just the sport. Like there are so many different levers to pull to kind of activate this cultural movement. I don't know about you guys, but my Instagram is flooded with the Women's Rugby World Cup going on at the moment. And like it's like I'm getting goosebumps from this from whoever is doing their content strategy. Far out. I think they are invoking so much pathos in this. Like they are getting buy-in. Like I don't watch rugby very much, but I watch women. I watch women like do their thing in a professional capacity. That like I read a poem actually about women's sports, and it's like these women are on the pitch and they're predators, not the prey. And like it's
been giving me so much FOMO. I was like, because it's just over in the UK, right? I was like Googling like tickets, trains, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, would it be possible to just like sneak over to watch? But
they didn't think that they could sell out Twickenham. And they did.
So cool. I like the point though, Georgie, in that it's not just about it's not necessarily about getting women racing or getting even women to watch, getting eyeballs on the broadcast. It's about building that organic community. And I really enjoyed when Iris was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago and listening to her talking about it, and that the cheer squad that she had, that community, like if you could recreate that feel and, you know, and look to what other sports or even other industries are doing to make it about female friendship and relationships. Like you go with your best friends to a Taylor Swift concert. You don't really go alone. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You go with a friend to a football stadium to watch the game. Like you're going with people, or you're watching it with people at home. Like you're making it a party. You're making it something that's like building your core memories as well as building the brand of the sport. And yeah, I really like that part of it, because that's what matters to a lot of us, not just women, but particularly women, is feeling like you belong to something, that you're not just a viewer watching it alone. You're part of something bigger than what you're watching in front of you. And yeah, it'd be good if we could merchandise better, because a football jersey is much easier to accessorize with nice jeans and some cool necklaces than a cycling jersey is. So we need to get a bit creative about how we bring people into our culture as well.
Well, you know what? They did some Klarna did some research with the Women's Sport Foundation on merchandise. Lids, so hats, hence my female athlete project hat that I constantly wear, are the best-selling piece of merchandise. I think cycling teams can very easily create a baseball cap.
Oh, yeah. I would buy it. I need a new hat too.
This is exactly why I like converted you all into being cycling or Taylor Swift fans, is because I needed people to send my Taylor Swift memes to that would get it.
No, I was going to say my friend, she bought a ticket to a listening party for the launch on October 3rd, and it sold out within 1 minute in Melbourne.
Whoa.
Nice.
Yep. Julia, that was for you.
Love that.
I know you listen.
I keep sending my husband like videos about how to support your partner in the launch of a new Taylor Swift album, just hoping that he'll get me like, I don't know, an orange and green bouquet and do some fancy breakfast for me or something like that. Make me a coffee when I wake up at 3 a.m. to listen to it. No, I think that it's such a huge question in terms of there's multiple different layers to it. There's like, where do we want the sport to go in terms of the actual sport itself and the racing and how the professionalization of it, but also the grassroots level and everything like that, which we talk about quite often, like the non-world tour teams and races that need support. But also like something that Iris also mentioned when we talked to her, and that ties into like what you guys are talking about, is the monetization of cycling, which I think like the whole debate at Tour de Romandie with Velon and the UCI and the monetization, potential monetization of data on that are the women are producing at these races. How do we make it so the increased number of viewers and the increased popularity of the sport gets funneled back into the teams themselves to make a more sustainable model, which is like the age-old question in cycling, right? Like we've always been a sponsor-based sport, but it works until it doesn't. And I think like one of the huge things that like Iris was talking about that we maybe miss the mark on is that before the sport continues to grow, to answer that question on the women's side, because it's smaller, there's less teams, there's less races, there's less moving parts for the women. So if there's any way to monetize the sport that gives back to the teams and gives back to the riders, that isn't, money going directly into the pocket of the ASO and the UCI, like that's where I want to see the sport going, which I think is very wishful thinking and is never going to happen. But that is like my only answer to this question when it comes to the larger picture. There's so much more we could talk about when it comes to the actual like cycling.
Oh, you're right.
Part.
Like
this is where we need to be on YouTube.
It's the yeah, and we will hopefully soon. But the
someday,
like I think you got to follow the money at the end of the day to see why decisions are made. And if there's any kind of rocky foundation with the sponsors, it's very easy for a cycling team to fall over. And it's like
look at Sarah Tizet.
Correct. Like we
were just talking about
the stability of these teams are like contingent on the attitudes of very few people, which makes it's quite uneasy.
Yeah, I mean, but also like if you look at just how little Trek has their season this year, but also like I believe, and this is based completely on my beliefs and has nothing to do with my partner. And we don't talk about cycling, him and I, as much as we possibly can, because then it would be too much. So whoever is listening to this podcast who might be like, okay, well, her partner is on the team. I think part of the problem with the team this year has been a change in ownership of the team. Like they've been owned by Trek for a really long time, but this year Little bought in as a majority partner. So that means that Little is coming in mid-season basically with their demands on how they want the team to perform. And that has put added pressure on management and directors, which then puts added pressure on riders. And I don't think that's gone over well. So I don't know. I haven't talked specifically with the riders about this, but my observations have been that the team had specific ownership before. Ownership has changed. They are not performing very well under new ownership. And that's been in the works for like over a year now. So it does factor in last year as well. So I think like when you have a situation like that where the sponsors have such a huge say in how the team is run, that's not always beneficial for the riders and how the team runs, because they don't actually, like you're talking about a German supermarket. They don't know how a cycling team runs.
No, I agree to a point. I do think there needs to be a backer of some point, of some description, and it's not always going to be from the cycling world. In fact, I don't think it can be from the cycling world. I don't think there's the financial capital in the cycling world to back a team like this. You look at not the cycling team Synisca, but the company Synisca, headed up by Michelle Yang. They're basically an umbrella ownership structure, not a PE firm, but like a similar kind of idea, in which they own 3 different women's sports teams across the US and the UK. And they look to kind of amplify and basically rethink the ownership model for women's sport to kind of increase the revenue that those teams can then generate. It's a really cool model. I would love to see something like Synisca to look at something like a cycling team. I just don't think it turns enough of a profit yet for it to be an ample return on investment. But I think if you think of Little as a company, I think Decathlon did the same thing with AG2R as well. Like they've come in as like this primary sponsor, and so they've got a list of demands. But then I think if you have a someone who doesn't have a product that they have to turn. So Lidl, for instance, has a supermarket. Decathlon is a convenient, is a store, like is a store of things, sporting things. If you have a company whose only job is to finance their investment, like their portfolio, and like to have their portfolio perform, then maybe it's a different story. But I do think you need to have a big conglomerate behind these teams. I don't think you can get away with having I think you can have hopefully have passion behind it. Like I'd like to think Michelle Yang's company is passionate about women's sport, but I think it might be a bit too idealistic to believe that every financial backer will come in with, I've got the best interests of women's sport in mind, but they do have the money that can then drive it, and they want to see performances from the team.
No, I mean, like I totally agree. And I think like Lidl, I'm obviously happy that they are in the sport because it's a huge brand to be involved in cycling and women's cycling. But I think that the problem comes when the owner of a team knows nothing about the sport or how the team functions and comes in with their own idea of what the team is going to accomplish under their name.
But yeah, I think this comes in from like, this isn't like Lidl is not a purpose-built sports investment fund where they know how sport works. I think that's kind of where the issue lies. Like if this was a PE firm that looks at, if this is a venture fund or a PE firm that looks at the sporting landscape regularly across various different sporting codes, then maybe it'd be a different story. But it's these guys are coming at it purely from like a supermarket perspective.
I do wonder, and this is a whole bigger conversation that we can't probably get into, is like, should there be salary caps to
it's another aspect. Yeah.
Bring in a bit more stability across teams and across sponsors to build this sport in a more sustainable way. And that goes for men's cycling as well, I think, because as Georgie said, like we've gotten to a point already where you need big backers to fund these teams. What is the end game of that? Will all teams ultimately be owned by countries from the Middle East? You know, like it's
oh God.
But like that's the money line down the line. You know, like if industry sponsors are going to get priced out of this, that's kind of a good problem. But is it like ultimately a good problem? Do we want do we want more of a stable economy? Do we want more ethical investors in our sport? Do we want better conditions across the board for all riders? Like what are all of the elements in that make...
We can't have all of that though at once. Like I think we can have stability for the riders at the team level. We can have riders getting remunerated their due, but I don't think we can, at this point, have the luxury of morality as well in that. Like I think there's various aspects that we can't tick every box at this moment of growth.
Not as a sport, but maybe as individual teams. But yeah, I agree, not as a sport.
I mean, there's no way that you're going to somehow reconfigure where the money earned in cycling goes, which is not that much when you talk about like streaming rights and what have you. Where that money goes to support the teams enough. Like there will always be a sponsorship aspect of cycling, I think. Like also just the sport isn't big enough to pull in the numbers. Like we're growing every single year, and like viewer figures on races are growing every year, but we're still a niche sport.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
It's still very much a niche sport that probably won't get, you know. Yeah, the Valkyries had like 20,000 ticket deposits put on before they even signed a player for the upcoming season. I don't think cycling will get that amount of uptake.
Well, we don't have a stadium. So
but that's another thing. Like, cycling as a sport has a lot of issues in terms of like how it's a traveling circus at the end of the day.
Revenue stream.
Yeah, like where's it come from? Yeah. Like I think as a ball sport. I get really annoyed when people call other sports, when they think about cycling and other sports, they say, oh, well, team sports. I'm like, well, cycling is a team sport, so can we call it ball sports and cycling, please? But like stadiums offer like a massive revenue stream for these other sports.
Well, isn't that what Velon was trying to do all those years ago with the Hammer series, like to try and ticket it have it on circuits, things like that, to try and start generating that sort of revenue, selling merchandise on the ground, food, drinks, all that sort of stuff, and a portion of it going back and then going into the teams. But
we all know why it didn't work though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yes. All right. I'm gonna take us down a different direction so that we can kind of keep moving on. Decompress, because I feel like this could be like an entire podcast, just this one. And I feel like every single time we do one of these mailbags, I'm always like stressed that we won't get enough questions and we won't have enough to talk about over 1 hour. And then every single time we end up with like 5 questions that we can't even get to. I'm going to go with a fun one. Cafe Rider asks, in light of Chloe Daggert's decluttering and cleaning videos, which rider that you shared a room with would benefit from her advice?
I'm going to link something there that you should put in the show notes. It's 10 years old, this article I wrote. But when I read this question, I was like, this is like, I used to blog a little bit back in the day. This was a blog I wrote for cycling tips way back when. That was called The Roommate Rules. And like what you had to do, like the etiquette of rooming with people. I think it was a pretty funny article. But yes, I wrote this because I was inspired by one of my roommates. And I can't even remember who it was back then. Maybe it was Tiff Cromwell. I don't know. We used to room a lot together. But anyway,
I have no problem naming and shaming my roommate.
I can name and shame.
She was a great roommate. She just had so much stuff with her.
Oh yeah, Tiff just brought so much. She did skincare before it was a thing.
Yes, she did. I learned about skincare through Tiff.
I loved
she's
it.
like, "You got to start now, Loren." Like, but I'm like, "We're 25," and she's like, "Yeah, but you got to start now."
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, she was my favorite roommate. I would pick rooming with her any day. Like, loved rooming with her. But it was like you'd walk into a room, you'd close your eyes, open your eyes, and her bag would have exploded. Like, there was just stuff everywhere. You were like, why'd you bring this many pairs of gloves? It's like a crit. And that was Katie Hall.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people on planet Earth. Just incredibly messy. And if you were ever on the team bus and you found a stray sock, it was Katie's.
Yeah, there's always one. I don't know what I was like as a roommate. I'd be curious to hear. Oh no, I was bad with snoring. There's like a great story in 2016, and Gracie and I were teammates, and it was like during the spring campaign. I don't know. I stopped snoring once I stopped racing, so who knows what it was. Maybe I was just so effed all the time. Catherine Garfoot in the middle of the night left our shared room, went down to reception and booked another room for herself because the snoring was that bad. And then the next morning at breakfast, she had to like make sure she told me.
Yeah,
that was the reason.
She would definitely not let that go quiet.
No.
And
in front of everyone, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
And Loren, on the paycheck as well, that no doubt was probably didn't sustain that.
No, which meant it must have been really bad.
Yeah, we've got a few snorers on Green Edge, but my roommate, I was rooming with her. It was hilarious being a roommate with her, and I, similar to Abby, like would choose it because we just like it was just so much fun. Silka Smulders is like we call her La Bomba. She gets into the room and it just explodes. And I am used to it because my sister does the same. So whenever kids would travel together, I'd get like a corner for my stuff and like everywhere else was covered. But my God, like you couldn't open the door at times. Like just chaos. And like she would own it as well. Like just like, and I respect that. Someone who's just like, yeah, I know I'm messy. Deal with it. It's just me. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, if you have to like, you're in a tour and you have to move day by day, that just doesn't work because that's creating so much work. You have to just live within the suitcase, open the suitcase and live within it.
Yeah. And I mean, you always like, I don't know about you guys, but I always went to a race and I would bring like the full shebang. Like, I mean, you know, I would have like a 25-kilo child in my suitcase. Like it was like fully packed. But I would wear the same skin suit, the same socks, the same sports bra, like the same gloves every single day because you just put it on the laundry loop and it'd get done and you just like
No, mine was like a superstition thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I always put my left sock and my left shoe on first. That's kind of my superstition for anything. But like,
wait, you go sock, shoe, sock,
no,
shoe?
No. I go sock, shoe, shoe. Let's always start with the left.
Okay, I was like, all right, now I have real questions about your mental stability.
Hold up right there.
Who goes sock,
my
shoe,
mental stability has
shoe?
My mental stability has been explained over the last week, Abby, as I've told you.
I can't remember any like particularly messy teammates. I was probably the messier one, to be fair.
If you can't
remember, it's you.
Yeah. I feel like that's what's happening. I don't think I was that bad, but anyway.
Loren?
It was Emma Johansson. I used to love racing with her, but rooming with her, she'd always be like asking me heaps of questions the whole time. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? This is what we blah, blah, blah. She'd just be like a bit. She wasn't like an anxious person, but she would like kind of talk her thoughts out loud. And I'm not like that at all. Like I want a roommate that doesn't want to talk. Like,
is that, wait, is she?
We either do deep and meaningfuls or no talking. And she just would never let me nap. I'd be trying to nap and she'd like be rustling her bags and she'd be doing stuff and like knew she was doing it on purpose. And I was like, just let me sleep.
Is she married to Martin?
I'm a panda bear.
She's married to Martin Vespi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that explains a lot. Because Martin's the same. He's the same.
They just don't sit still and they want to talk about everything.
They talk about everything.
But oh my God, I don't want to room with her.
I had a roommate that hoarded snacks and that was the worst.
When Martin would call you for like a pre-race chat to kind of talk through like your roles and expectation for the race, you'd buckle in for 90 minutes.
Yep.
You'd think that like in a partnership, you'd have one person that talks more and one person that talks less, though.
You need that.
Otherwise, it's just talking all the time.
Although sometimes as a talker, I'm like, talk more, goddammit. Like, talk to me.
Loren, we're the talkers in our relationships.
Well, Rowney and I did live together for a little while. Do you remember what that was like?
That worked.
I remember it was nice. I think we were pretty good together.
Yeah. We were a good match, I think. It was, Gracie was pretty busy with Olympic goals as well. You were away quite a bit in that period too.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it was nice. We did lots of like group dinners, and actually Gracie was really good for me because I got to see how she just did everything and how much she ate, and she was performing really, really well that year. And that's when I started eating like carbs for lunch and things like that. Like I wasn't afraid to eat gnocchi for lunch and things like that. So that was actually really good for me that period, because
it's crazy how much of a difference that can make, just being around like someone who's like actually
I don't want to
fuels themselves.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen anyone eat as much as Katie Hall can eat, like ever. It's insane how much food that person could put inside their tiny, tiny body.
That's why I've been enjoying the Cassia content at the moment, like her like just the training that she's doing and the food that she's eating and stuff. It just feels very normal.
I think this ties very well into How Good's Minute of Madness.
Oh yeah.
Let's
Georgie,
go.
how do you want to title this one?
Well, it's actually like, I mean, I haven't cleared this past editorial staff. So this is me asking for
That's fine. We're separate from them.
This is
What are you talking about? Abby's your editor.
Yeah, she's my boss.
Yeah, I'm in charge.
But this is my my pitch to you, Abby. But this is I'm asking for forgiveness, not permission on this one. So I'm going.
Do you want multiple? Do you want 2 minutes?
No, 1 minute's fine, because I also want to keep them guessing. You know, like a good date, you just want to leave a little bit left.
All right.
Okay. I will start the timer when you start.
Someone count me in, because I'm not on the screen.
3, 2, 1, go.
Serena Williams looks up at the camera, and you think, oh, motivational music is playing. But she says, this is healthcare. And what is it? It is an advert for Roe, a GLP-1 supplement that is used by 8 to 10% of Americans, according to PwC. This is highly problematic for Serena Williams. Once the pinnacle of the fight against fight against like the perfect, quote unquote, perfect body, just being yourself. She was very much for strong, athletic women, 23 Grand Slam winners. This is this completely goes against what we see in what we've hoped to see in women's sport over the past few years, and goes with what we saw at the aftermath of the Tour de France Femme avec Swift, when Demi Vollering, one of the first questions she was given was about maybe lose more weight and you'll win the Tour de France. We cannot shrink success. We cannot shrink these women into something that they're not, and we need to stop it. When we have people like Serena Williams, who was formerly an advocate of strong, healthy bodies, doing something that is seemingly what society needs her to do, which is lose weight, we cannot shrink success, and I don't want to see it happen anymore.
1 minute, 9 seconds.
Well done. Yeah, we could talk about this for a whole podcast episode, but I like that.
It's all right. I've got an article coming out about it. It's fine.
I mean, I think we could discuss it a little bit because it's relevant.
It is relevant.
Since Serena Williams just kind of dropped this. And I think like the optics of it, the whole conversation around Serena Williams promoting a weight loss drug, does it affect women's sport as a whole, which like we're all fans of women's sport.
Yep.
That's why we're here. We're not just cycling fans. I think all of us also follow other women's sports. So yeah, if we wanted to talk about it for a little bit, I think we could, and now would be the moment to.
I think what riled me up the most was like, so we've got a group chat, of course, and we've got our Instagram group chat. And we all obviously have the same algorithms because we always land on the same stuff. But anyway, that video from that woman was really great. I can't think of her name, but she highlighted all the, I think, problems with this that were going through our minds. But I decided to dive into the comment section like you do sometimes, and I just need to stop doing it. But I was getting really angry when there were women basically saying like, oh, but you haven't listed all the really good things about Ozempic. And, it's her choice. Of course, it's her choice to do this. But it was more the issue of like, she has this platform. And we want to be clear, like that drug is for people with type 2 diabetes, not healthy, normal individuals. That's my issue with it, is like, why are you using this drug that actually needs to go to people who need it? And it creates like that issue where like, it becomes very expensive then for people who actually need this drug to attain this drug. So, yeah, I don't know. We could go on about it, and I'm sure you guys have got your thoughts about on this as well. But
aside from the body positivity movement, like the fact that it's an expensive drug, full stop. Mm-hmm. So you're asking common people to buy this on top of all the other beauty stuff they're probably buying. Eyelashes, Botox, other supplements, the list goes on. Imagine what the monthly cost is for these people trying to be what we tell them is acceptable, valuable in our society.
I did the
and then the long-term health effects as well. Like there are side effects to these drugs, and some of these side effects could be lifelong, lasting side effects. And as Loren mentioned, it affects people that do actually need this drug. So it's this awful chokehold that the pharmaceutical companies have now on they already have it, but like another bigger, better version to have that chokehold on the health, well-being and beauty industry, to further pacify the masses into thinking that's what I need to be happy, to be loved, to be valued. And it's just quite sad in my mind that we're at that point. And that's, of all people, Serena Williams, the poster girl of what a strong, powerful, amazing body can do and achieve, took so many steps forward in the last decade or so in that movement, and now has taken so many steps back. So, of course, it's her choice, but all I could think of was, geez, how much would they have had to pay her to do that ad? And wow.
Oh, like
let's talk about the fact that her husband's also on the board of this company.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. That's problematic.
And I did the costing of this drug. It's a startup month cost. The first month is $45 US, and you get like initial consultation. But then the drugs themselves cost anywhere between $499 US and Ozempic up to $1,000 US per month. And then the ongoing medical the ongoing monthly costs that this company is proposing for like kind of like a doctor in your pocket, as well as some like dietary advice as well, and constant like reevaluation of the medication that you're taking, is $149, $45 per month US on top of the medication cost, which is just absurd. And I had part of the article, like I had a chat with a friend of mine who's also like a senior research fellow in exercise and nutrition here in Melbourne, and she focuses on like obesity. And this is like she says Ozempic's fantastic, like for people who need it, like genuinely need it, like this is a game-changing drug for them. It does what they need it to do. However, she referenced a journal in The Lancet earlier this year where they basically reclassified what it means to be obese. And they need to look at, it's no longer looking obese. It's what is your predisposition to life-ending illness. So like, what's your cholesterol doing? What's your visceral fat doing? Like how, like what are your what are these precursors to an early life death, if that makes sense, rather than saying like, oh, you look fat, but like this person could look bigger but have a very healthy lifestyle and have a very healthy blood profile and things like that. So this journal article was looking at, we need to reclassify what it means to be obese, because if you think about an extreme example would be like an All Blacks player, rugby player would be in the old kind of definition would be clinically obese.
Yeah, based off BMI.
But that's why they've dropped BMI now, right?
Correct.
BMI is just not accurate at all.
So,
but what people also forget is visceral fat, because the thing is, sometimes you get these people who I call skinny fat. Inside, they're very, very unhealthy. But for whatever reason, they look slimmer than, say, the person next to them. But actually, maybe the person next to them who's carrying a bit extra, just because of their morphology, is the healthier person.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, this woman was saying, this a friend of mine was saying that, it's health, not optics, we need to look at when we're looking at who should be taking this drug. And it's, it's...
And you can only do that through like a full health check, like a full blood profile and all those sorts of things.
Yeah,
to
and
really
it's,
understand where you sit.
And it's really unfair that like, that women are getting lumped with this responsibility of taking this drug, whereas like it's the men who have, and these women are probably like, who are looking at taking Rue, this drug, are probably, I mean, I would assume healthy. If they're not, they'd be going to a doctor and looking at like serious like medical interventions to help them with their health. But it's actually men who have a larger chance of being like having poor metabolic health. But it's women who are getting lumped with this responsibility of looking smaller with this drug.
I mean, I think that was one of my favorite points that reel made that I sent you guys about that. It's making money off of the insecurities that women are fed through societal like pressure, basically. And I think like when it comes to Serena Williams specifically, like if she wants to take this drug and with the consultation of her doctors, like they think that it's beneficial for her, like whatever, she can do that. That's totally her call. But I think like what we have a problem with is that she's like pushing, or that she's advertising the drug for other people to take with her enormous platform and the specific people who would follow her, which are like people like us. And in doing so, kind of like in a way saying that the body she had when she was such an incredible athlete wasn't good enough. And I mean, even after having kids, she was winning Grand Slams. So
it did bother me that she mentioned her post baby body in that advertisement as well. That was like an extra knife in the wound for a lot of women.
Yeah.
But something as well that we haven't specifically identified is the connection to sport and this drug. Like, what is that grey area? Is this going to be looked at by WADA? Is this going to be okay to take as an athlete? What does this mean for fair play, for the morality that's attached to most sport, which is clean sport? Like, what does that also mean in regards to her connection to sport and her profile, not just as this powerful woman, but as one of the world's best athletes?
They've done a heap of studies on if this is performance enhancing. because like I'm ashamed to say I looked at this drug last year when I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. Like I just wasn't losing weight and I was just getting told I need to lose weight. So that was something that was proposed to me and I also investigated myself. It's not something that is performance enhancing, and WADA, I think they've acknowledged it, but due to its adverse side effects for the elite athlete, like it literally stops your appetite. So you can't eat. So if you can't eat, you can't perform. There's no, unless it's like, I wouldn't think of there be many sports that would support this drug as performance enhancing. But I think Serena's connection to sport, I think what makes it problematic, the connection to sport that makes it problematic is that this woman is touted as one of the best tennis players of all time. And she did it by being a strong, like, presence as well as a strong presence on the court as well. And she was so celebrated for that. We've just come out of this dialogue in women's cycling where, like, all of a sudden smaller is suddenly better again. And this mirrors that somewhat.
Georgie, do you think it will impact her relationship with any of her other current sponsors? Like, if we think of Nike?
I don't know
if she's with them anymore, but like a brand like that, how would that align with what they're trying to promote?
She's been with Nike for 18 years now, I think. Her first sponsorship was with Puma, and then she went to Nike, or Nike. It's her relationship with Nike is now through her clothing collaboration she's got with them. So it might be separate from her, independent, separated from her like performance as an athlete and as an individual. But no doubt there's definitely going to be some percolation from one brand to another. I actually thought what really bothered me about this reel was that it looked like a Nike. It sounded like a Nike commercial. The way that her tone of voice sounded like a Nike commercial. Like it sounded like a performance offering. And that's what really bothered me.
If you want an antidote, go and follow Ilona Maher.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm curious, actually. I feel like I know she's been busy with the World Cup, but the House of Maher, their podcast, I thought they might jump on it. Like I could see Kylie Kelsey jumping on this.
I hope, you know what, Loren, I really hope they do. The skeptic in me thinks they won't.
Yeah,
because
I think
she's too big fish.
She's too big. Like she's like Taylor Swift. You don't want to put her, but also her fan base is like you don't want to mess with it. And I think that there would be enough overlap between Ilona's fan base and Serena Williams' fan base that she wouldn't want to really.
A shame, huh?
Yeah,
I mean, I understand it.
I get it. I get it. Like you don't.
No, I get it too. And she's only just starting out. As well.
What are you trying to say? What's our fan base? Don't we have a massive crossover?
We do have a massive crossover. Serena's going to come for us. Just watch out. I'm ready.
I mean, have you seen how many followers I have? I have 5,000, not 5 million.
More than me.
I feel like there was actually there's been a couple times where there's been people who listen to the podcast who are like relatively who have some kind of job that's really cool that I've had like a starstruck moment with. I feel like someone messaged me on Instagram once that had like 2 degrees separation from Taylor Swift. And I was like, holy shit. But wow. That's how I live my life. Just thinking in degrees of separation. All right. We'll keep the rest of our questions for future because we are coming up on the end of the season. So we'll definitely have opportunities to answer them. Coming up on the 30th of August, we have the Classic Loren Agglomeration, otherwise known as the GP de Plouay for those
always
oldies.
The GP de Plouay. Do not change it. It's always GP de Plouay. Sponsor names to be damned.
The race is
we love sponsors.
We could say formerly known as.
Every other sponsor, formerly known as, yeah.
But in my mind,
it's a little bit longer this year than it has been the last couple of years. 168.5 kilometers long, 2,000 plus meters elevation gain. It's a hilly race, technical roads in France with a circuit to finish the race off. It's been won the last 2 years by Misha Bredewald in reduced groups, and I will do a full preview on escapecollective.com later in the week. So make sure that you're an Escape Collective member and that you check the site for a full breakdown of what to expect at Classic Loren Agglomeration, formerly known as GP de Plouay. We could do obsessions to wrap it up. We've had a really long episode, but I think it was a good one, in my opinion.
I think we talked about our obsessions in this episode.
Yeah.
That's fair. I was gonna say we could finish off the episode with Lee Mango's question about our top 5 songs or bands that we do our Zwift playlist. Gracie's shaking her head.
Oh Jesus, that would take a really long time.
Well, that's a whole pod as well. Trust me.
It's a whole pod.
Oh, my answer is so quick. Okay, fine.
Is it, Abby?
Yes.
Don't believe you.
It's just the Reputation album. It's just all I listen to. Okay, let's wrap it up with some really quick obsessions. Then we'll be back next week to talk about Tour de l'Avenir and Classic Lorient Agglomeration, GP de Plouay. My obsession this week is old movies. I have been, like, every once in a while, I circle back to the old rom-coms and watched, like, 10 Things I Hate About You. I watched John Tucker Must Die last night, which is, like, really some of it does not hold up. But it was a really good movie. Clueless, Bring It On, just, like, really good movies, like really good teen rom-coms. And I just wish that they would bring back this
quality
genre of movie. Oh my God, they're so good. They're so good. And they just don't make them like they used to.
No. Hannes and I have been doing that, to be honest. That's been fun. We've been circling back to all those ones as well, which has been good.
It's awesome.
My obsession is linked to Abby. So I think I was asking for book recommendations probably last year, and I downloaded a whole bunch of books. And I finally got to holy shit. Why do I always forget the titles of the books? The thing with the moon. When the moon, like, I'm halfway through this book.
Oh, When the Moon Hatched.
Yes, When the Moon Hatched.
I love that book. Oh, you're reading it at the perfect time. The second one comes out in, like, 2 months.
Ah, there you go. I'm halfway through, and it's been a while since I read, like, a fantasy novel, but I'm really liking it. So thank you, Abby.
I'm so glad you like it.
And now I got, like, a little bit of an idea of your taste in these sorts of books. So I'm like, all right, Abby's really into violence and sex, and yep.
I'm a nerd.
Smut.
It's smut, basically.
Smut.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's a good escapism.
I take issue with the title of smut because no one calls Game of Thrones smut, but that is pure male smut.
Yeah, I struggled with a lot of those scenes.
I actually really hated Game of Thrones, so there's that.
Well, you know what? I knew there was going to be
even though my daughter's named after no, she's not named after one of the characters. She just, if people ask how to pronounce it, I reference Game of Thrones, but I hated Game of Thrones books and movies.
That's all right.
Anyway,
I won't hold that against you. My obsession is one of my best mates' brothers bought a real fixer-upper house here in Melbourne, and so I've been really enjoying just going over there and putting on work pants and painting and sanding and doing all those things, getting a bit messy. It's just a nice break, like when you're, in the depths of an article, like, you just need a break from something, do something completely different. And also it's nice because it's, helping them out, and like their family's all there to just they're all helping out as well. Yesterday we were everyone was in like one tiny room doing all different things at once. Like there was, like putting painting tape over like PowerPoints, and I was painting the ceiling, so I was moving the ladder around, and it was just chaos. People were priming windowsills. It was madness, but it's good wholesome fun.
That does sound very
where
enjoyable.
Were you guys like 2 years ago? I needed a group.
Georgie,
at my house.
Be honest though, you just enjoy wearing the tool belt. I know that.
I'm gonna send you guys a
Did you
photo.
go out and buy a tool belt especially for this?
No, but I do have some work pants which I'm really enjoying putting on. I'll send you guys a photo of me on top of the ladder looking very happy.
Please.
Hold on. Wait, do it. I want to live react, so stay on the line and look at your phones. Where is it?
Oh my gosh.
That could be like that's a picture for an advertisement, no?
Yeah, seriously. That should be your profile picture.
Yeah.
Look how cute you are. Oh my goodness.
I mean, if you weren't dating someone, I would say that's a dating profile picture.
Yeah, that's definitely an app picture.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But straddling the top of a ladder. Yeah.
My obsession this week is the new season of Australian Survivor, and it's called Australia versus the World. And it's a special season because it's short. It's only 16 days, and it's Aussie's best versus some of the world's best. So they've got Sari and Tony and Pavati and like a bunch of others who have done like amazing things in American Survivor, and some cool characters from around the place. And it's like so stressful to watch because it's just like game from the get-go, and it's cool to see the best play each other.
That's awesome. I want to watch this.
It's really
my favorite seasons of Survivor ever is when they bring back the really well-known, like whenever they bring back Boss and Rob, I'm like, yeah, I'll watch that.
It's I've got a friend, actually Julia, the same friend I referenced to earlier. The only way you're going to catch up with her on a Sunday night is if you sit down and watch Survivor with her. So yesterday, in my painting garb, I was over there with two things of pho, and we watched Survivor at 7:00, and we chatted about life in the ad breaks.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I'm about to go watch Survivor and have dinner.
Yeah, you got 6 minutes,
Kimberly.
Gracie.
Well,
all right. Well,
we actually
let's wrap it up. Thanks, everyone.
We didn't watch it last night, so we have to catch up because we missed it.
4 hours of Survivor.
It must be a
Last night was good. Last night was really good. I can tell you.
No spoilers.
I knew what happened.
Shh.
As Georgie texts Kimber under the table.
She would kill you if you made any spoilers.
Yeah.
She would disown. She would not be your friend ever again.
We're golden retriever buddies. We're in the same. We don't have hate. We don't keep secrets.
Trust me, she would. That's an unforgivable thing for
spoil Survivor. All right. Well, thanks everyone so much for listening, and thank you so much to everyone who gave us your questions. We will definitely get to the ones remaining. We have a really good one about if you have a time trial team that will take on the universe, and I can't wait to answer that one. So we'll be back. Yeah, that's a good one for you, Georgie. For TTT to take on the rest of the galaxy. Thanks everyone, and yeah, we'll be back next week.
This episode was produced, edited, and mixed by Will Jones at Red Bricks Media.